Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast from Scottsdale, Arizona. I have Derek Hales. He's an entrepreneur and he is the founder of Nap Lab, which we'll hear about more, but he is in the mattress business and is an entrepreneur in there. It's very fascinating. I always love talking with entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs, and especially in new. Derek, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. What is your startup found? Always loved the founder story, garage, one bedroom apartment, mattresses, and to where you are now.
Yeah, so it was a story of accidental stepping into this industry. So it really just began. My wife and I got married in 2014. We needed a new bed pretty immediately. We were sleeping on my old innerspring that I had grown up on as a kid. And so we were in the market for a new mattress pretty quickly. And we did the whole in-store experience, went in, tried beds, laid on them, and we found plenty we liked. We're a young married couple, no real money to speak of, and pretty frugal people at that. So spending $6,000 on a bed was just not in the cards. So one of my coworkers at the time had mentioned one of these new online companies selling beds, super cheap with great refund policies. So I was like, done. That's all I needed. Took a chance on one of those. It was okay, not great. We returned the first one we tried, and then we ordered a second one. It was much better, better met our needs. And so I ended this sort of experience having now personally tested two beds in my own home. I had tried a bunch of beds in store, went through the whole research process online and offline, and took all this information, just really threw it up onto a website. We did some reviews, some blogs, some comparisons. Just really, it's like a fun kind of weekend project for me. I was like, if anything else to be fun to build, then maybe it'll make a little money. That might be cool too. But really, just more for fun than anything else. But it clearly struck a chord with a lot of people who were in a similar situation to me. The reviews were blowing up. Within just a couple of weeks, we had our first sales. Within a couple of months, it had replaced my full-time income. And after 6 months, I was ready to make the leap, leave my corporate job, and become a professional full-time mattress tester.
Interesting. And it really reminds me of the points guy where he's reviewing like credit cards and travel websites, and you did it with mattresses. So it sounded like accidental, but I've never heard of a match. People go to Google, but how big is the market for people that are just looking for information or just knowledge and education, or actually people that are buying?
So in the US, it's much larger than you might imagine. Today, estimates of the size of the US mattress industry are somewhere between 15 and $18 billion per year. And roughly half of all mattresses sold on the US are sold online. So anybody that's buying an online mattress, there's a pretty good chance that person is going to be looking for reviews, comparisons, best of lists, anything to just kind of help guide their process. There are hundreds of online mattress brands out there. So it could be really difficult to sift through the marketing speak and really get down to like, all right, what are the actual good beds? What are the ones with good customer service? And which ones can actually meet my individual needs?
Yeah. We'll go into kind of content creation strategies in driving. So a lot of your sales, is it through affiliates? Is it through sponsorships? Or is it through talk about how you drive revenue through NapLab?
So we are almost exclusively monetized through referral links. So someone comes to our site, they read our review, they watch our video, they click our links. If they make a purchase, then we usually will earn a commission on that sale. I really try to avoid all kind of traditional advertising, sponsored content, paid content, any sort of pay to play. I don't like that. I stay away. I think it gets in the way of what we're trying to do with our reviews. Whereas referral links just let me do the reviews, do the tests, do the data, however we want to, and follow our processes for scoring and testing and analysis to the letter without being influenced by all these other factors, whether it's advertising and sponsored content. So that's definitely how we've made a point to try to structure the business as it just makes the most sense for the types of reviews that we do.
Interesting. The other follow-up question I have for you is where are you seeing the greatest engagement with your follower base, whether it's either through a blog, newsletter, through social media, or YouTube? Talk about how you're trying to get access the customer through the various touch points.
So, right, there's a lot of places that people like to consume content. We have our contextual reviews and content on the website. We have our long form video reviews on YouTube. We have shorts across all the social platforms, in addition to more typical social content there as well. So, we want to be wherever our readers and viewers are at, we try to be in those locations so people know they exist, so they're able to easily access the information that we have in the format that they want to see it in. But definitely our biggest and best engagement is almost always on site. So once people come to the site, they get a sense of what they can find here, the depth, the reviews. It's just the best way to dive into our data, really. And we've created a suite of tools so that you can quickly compare every mattress we've tested to date based on all the factors that we test for. And it really just allows you to very quickly identify, all right, you say one, two, and three, these things are important to me as a sleeper. And then you can quickly match those up with mattresses that have met those criteria in our tests.
And the market for mattresses, what is the most common problem when people are searching for mattresses? Is it what are they having frustrations with when they're searching for looking for a mattress?
I think there's a number of big problems. I think probably the biggest is intentional confusion on the side of the mattress industry. There are a lot of mattress brands that are in the business of confusing customers because a customer that doesn't know exactly what's in that bed can't really make an informed decision. They can't look at your model and then go compare that to something in a different store or to a different website. And so when customers have this sort of asymmetrical information, asymmetrical knowledge, they can't make an informed decision. And so you end up with brands that do a lot of this marketing speak. It's, oh, it's glacier ice fabric, or it's super titanium NASA memory foam, and just this slew of nonsense marketing words that don't mean anything. And we really try to solve that problem. It doesn't mean that those beds are necessarily bad, but I want to take the marketing speak and just remove it. And let's just talk about each material, individual material layer, and say, okay, this is a 2-inch Euro top. This is a 4-pound PCF memory foam that's sitting on an 8-inch coil unit with 14 gauge coils and 1,200 coils. And then we can compare that to another mattress and look at those exact same specs and say, okay, yeah, this one is $300 more, but it has some notable improvements in terms of material quality and durability. I think the biggest problem in the industry by large is that sort of asymmetrical information for consumers and that intentional confusion and just not laying out really what is in this mattress that really makes it difficult for consumers to shop with confidence.
Yeah, interesting. So we know we'll talk about just like the mattress industry in general. And out of the 410 plus mattresses you've reviewed, which ones consistently perform the best?
So it varies by brand and by model, of course. So there are some brands have pretty expansive models where some models you crush it and others it's pretty consistent with the whole brand. When we look at which sort of brands do best, it really is less which brands and more which models. For example, Wink Bed is the currently the number one best scoring mattress we've tested on site, but it's just their Wink Bed sort of flagship model. They have a couple other models that are above average, but not nearly at the same performance level. Helix is another brand that does really well, but same thing there. They have 21 models in their lineup, and it's the models within the Luxe and Elite ranges that are the ones that really do well. And the others, again, good mattresses, notably lower in terms of performance, just due to some cost saving measures that those lower end models had incorporated. As it does really vary by model within brands. And then even when we look at performance, we're also trying to match the specific needs of a sleeper. And your needs are not going to be the same as mine. So differences in body weight, firmness, preference, and sleeping position will really change which mattresses are best for you. My wife and I love the feel of memory foam, so we sleep on a higher end memory foam mattress. But memory foam has lower bounce. The edge support is not as good. It's not going to sleep as cool as like a hybrid or a coil-based mattresses. So definitely, there are definitely pros and cons there. So if cooling and lower bounce are factors that you want high bounce, you want the best sex performance, you want the best cooling, memory foam is not for you. But if those are not as important for you, you may find the pressure relief and low motion of memory foam is worth the trade-offs, even though the total performance of a hybrid is generally going to be better than memory foam, if that makes sense.
Interesting. I'm curious about your mattress testing process because obviously some of these mattresses are 5,000. We'll talk about whether really you need to spend a couple thousand on a mattress, but and then also and then you have to test it. Like how long do you test it? And you mentioned all these factors. Enlighten the audience about how you add more credibility to the reviews.
So for us,
Yeah.
it's all about objective data. And so when we launched NapLab, I wanted to build a system of tests and reviews that allows to take as much subjectivity as possible out of the review and replace that with objectivity and data. And so we use cameras and tools and measurement devices to help us collect this data. And then that data gets analyzed in our systems and our databases to help us understand how does this compare to the average? How good is this based on that scale? How bad is this? And for which sleepers is it best suited? Our tests begin, day one is we unbox, we let it sit for at least 24 hours before we begin our test, make sure it's restored to its full size. And then we start our testing process. And so we're using thermal cameras to take precise temperature measurements on the surface of the mattress. We're using an accelerometer to measure motion transfer. We drop medicine ball on one side, accelerometer on the other, so we can see exactly and objectively how that acceleration persists across the mattress and for how long it persists. We
Mhm.
use pixel level photography to measure exactly how deep does this mattress sink, both at the edge and in the middle. We use high speed videography to measure response speed and go in and look frame by frame to see, okay, how long did this mattress's materials take to recover to its original shape? And what does that mean in terms of ease of movement on the mattress? And so those are four of our sort of core metrics. We have 10 different tests that we look for, each of them trying to essentially take an objective, data driven approach to that analysis so that we can then essentially build this library, this database of tests and data that allow us to quickly and easily compare mattresses and see where the differences are.
And how long do you test them for? Do you test them for a couple of days, weeks, months? And what do you do after do you give the mattresses away? Because obviously these mattresses take up a lot of space.
Exactly. So our full testing process generally takes 1 to 2 weeks. And so that includes
Yeah.
the testing, the analysis, starting to write the review, and putting all of the different content pieces together. Once we've completed our tests and we're done with the mattress, then we donate those mattresses to a local charity.
Oh, interesting. And I assume you through your either through the website and others, you recoup your costs, especially if it's a $5,000 mattress. I'm assuming it's just what you consider a kind of a capital investment, if that's fair.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
just it's the our primary product, if you will, are our reviews. And so every time we may have to buy a mattress, and then there are costs for to buying the mattress, and then there are costs for just the time it takes for my team and I to go through the process of doing all of our tests, writing the review, doing all the analysis. And so it's just the cost of doing business to be sure that we can deliver the best reviews possible.
Interesting. So you're probably doing so two every 2 weeks. So you're doing probably 25 testing like around 25 kind of 20 mattresses a year.
It's more 150 a year.
Oh
So
wow.
while our process does take 1 to 2 weeks per mattress,
Yeah.
I have a 9-person team. So we have sort of the teams were divided up. All right, these are my testers, these are my photographers, these are my videographers, and so it's a little mattress factory moving here. So each person has a part of the process that allows us to do two tests per week.
Yeah, interesting. Another question I have for you is it sounds like you've been able to scale this up using the team and the process. What has been how are you thinking about how is are you thinking about AI in either automation, efficiency, content creation, and how are you using it in NapLab?
So our use is very limited so far.
Mm.
We'll use it to formulate ideas, structure ideas, help create outlines so that we can just get a quick sense of all right, these are the topics that we probably need to cover here, and here are some bullet points. And then it basically goes off to our human sort of editing and content creation process. So we have looked at some other ways and we tested AI video editing about a year ago. It was pretty good, but not so good that it felt that it was worth doing. We tested AI voice as well. One of the biggest sort of bottlenecks in the business is me, since I appear in every video, in almost every photo, in every test. Finding a way to remove me as the bottleneck would be tremendous. And so we took a bunch of voice clips of myself to try to create an AI Derek voice so that we could do voiceover scripts essentially. It's still my voice and my cadence, but it didn't feel right. It just wasn't good enough. And to be fair, this was a year ago. So I think as the technology matures in both those areas, there will probably be a point where, yeah, okay, these are great. They're indistinguishable from the real thing. But until that happens, we're pretty hesitant to get very involved in AI. AI for sort of contextual content creation in particular, we've stayed far away from. I'm still a big believer in the value of human generated content, especially something like we're doing where this content really can't exist without the library, the database of mattress tests. And so I think we are going to stay really focused on what we do best in those areas, and capturing real data and real human experiences on the mattress is critical to that.
Mm. So for the what's been like your biggest mistake when you've and what was your biggest takeaway in learning from that?
I think maybe the biggest mistake is the one that we're just always making. It's just really anytime that I've created something creative, I look back on it 6 months later and I only can see the ways that it's missing the mark, the way that it wasn't as good as it should have been. And so it took me a few years to realize this early in my career, just how rapidly we were improving and how much of a necessity it was to go back and update our older pieces of content. But that's definitely become a big part of sort of our standard update process now. Is about every 6 months, we look back on all of our reviews, all of our comparisons, all of our best of lists, and say, okay, is this up to our current standard? It's one of those things where we don't always feel all of the ways in which our content is iteratively improved because it's so slow. We just every review we tweak a little thing here, a video, we make a different shot here, or a different graphic here. And then you look back 6 months and it's, oh my God, there's so many things here. There's so many things that we've done. Like this new piece of 2025 content is just crushing this 2024 content just because of all those iterative improvements. So we've made a big point to start going back every 6-ish months or so and making sure that we're bringing all of our older content up to the level of our sort of current processes to make sure we're always creating the absolute best experience for our readers and viewers.
For the audience that are listening in, because we have bloggers, newsletters, we have Instagrammers, YouTubers as well, podcasters that are interested in building a brand and a business that you have done. Talk about kind of the key takeaways for building and finding a niche, creating an audience, and serving that audience.
Sure. So if you're going to do something in the world of reviews, I think the first thing that's critical is to pick a topic that you either know a lot about or you're willing to learn a lot about. For solo entrepreneurs, single creators, small teams, it is essential to go as deep as you possibly can. The competitors out there are giant marketing companies and media companies and publishers and huge companies with teams that are often hundreds of people. For you to compete and cut the noise and get to your viewers, your readers, you have to be at the pinnacle of expertise. So I think that's definitely number one. Number two, you want a sort of an industry that is big enough that it makes sense for you to go that deep. And so if you are in an industry that only has three products and that's it, that's just not deep enough to hit critical mass as far as the amount of content that you can create. So you want something with, I would say, let's say 100 or more interesting brands or products. That gives you enough to go in to test, to become a real knowledge expert in all of those different brands and models, and then present that to your readers and viewers in a way that, again, is helpful and also authentic and really just meets their needs and answers their questions. And then I think number three, think about the sort of different sort of monetization models that make sense for you. For NapLab, referral links was a no-brainer because we really were just so committed and very rigid in the way that we test and review and our editorial policies. But depending on the particular types of products that you're reviewing, something like Patreon may be more appropriate, or traditional advertising or sponsored content. I think there are places for each of those, again, depending on the types of content you're creating. But really think about which of these sort of is good for your business, but also which of these is good for your readers, your viewers. Readers and viewers that are constantly annoyed by the way you monetize your content are not going to stick around for very long. So there's definitely trade-offs there to consider. You want to try to find that balance where you are able to achieve the sort of monetization needs you're going for, but you're not just upsetting and angering your viewers and readers.
Yeah. And then a final question is, what techniques are you seeing the most results from in NapLab in 2024 and 2025? Is it SEO? Is it video? Is it social media? Where are you focusing your efforts?
So SEO and organic traffic continues to be our biggest driver. That's where most of our traffic comes from. As far as will that be our biggest gains in 2025, I don't know yet. We are putting a lot of time and money into expanding our presence across social media platforms. We're committed to creating a new social short every single day, plus additional social content. So we're really trying to make a big push there. YouTube is just a very steady growth. So I think we're going to continue to see good gains there as well. Newsletters is not something we've been particularly successful with. I think it's just due to the nature of the industry. It's people come in, they consume all the reviews, all the videos, they buy a mattress, and then they disappear for 3 to 10 years. And that's how it should be. And so
Yeah.
no one really wants to get on like a newsletter for mattresses. So we've not been particularly successful with that. But I think those organic long form video on YouTube and social shorts are big three growth areas, I think, coming into 2025.
Yeah. And curious, are you seeing results with community, or is that very similar to what you were talking about previously?
So we've not done much in the way of traditional community building around some type of forum or Discord or anything like that. We are very active in the comments on all of our social platforms and YouTube. So if somebody comes in is asking questions, like we're there immediately to answer those and help them get the information that they need. And so there is a sense of community on YouTube, but certainly not to the same degree. This is another area where, again, I think depending on the niche, this is great. If you're in like a topic, a niche that's like has about a lot of like enthusiastic people that really love the thing, whether it's computers or gaming or technology or whatever, then it's great because those people are always interested in whatever is new in that sort of enthusiast category. But no one is enthusiastic really about mattresses, right? It's a very small percentage of people. And so I think to that end, it becomes harder to build a sort of a community that has a sort of long life because people are, again, that they come in, they consume everything, they make a purchase, and then they leave for years at a time. So I've not found a lot of success with that in this particular space, but that doesn't mean that others couldn't in a
Yeah.
different industry.
Yeah. And how can people connect with you and follow you and check out Nap Lab, either just for their own or to learn more from you?
So the best place to connect is over at our website at naplab.com. That's naplab.com. There we have all of our reviews, comparisons, best of list guides, and a whole lot more. If you are in the market for a new mattress, we also have our mattress finder quiz there. You answer a few questions about your needs, preferences, and budget. That goes straight to me, and I send you back personalized recommendation within 24 hours.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming on. And it was really that interesting conversation.
Well, thank you for having me. Yes, it was wonderful. Thank you.